Kids and cadets, welcome back to Tommy Time. Appreciate you coming out. Hope you're all doing well. So, the scrapper that delivers visited me twice this week. The first time he gave me a call and said, "Hey, I got a question for you." He said, "What are you selling your push mowers with the bag for right now?" I said, "I got a couple listed between 120 and 140 for the regular pushers." He says, "Oh, I got one that runs with a bag. Can I bring it by? Maybe you can pay me more for it." So I said, "Sure, bring it by. Let me look at it." So maybe I created a monster here. He showed up. It ended up starting. I looked it over, saw a few discrepancies, and I says, "Well, what do you think you want for it?" He said 60. I said, I can do 50. And he didn't seem too happy with that. He's basing his selling price on what I'm going to make on it, but I just can't turn around and sell this just like this. It needs some work, so we'll discuss it. So I ended up giving him 50 for it. It is a nice looking unit. It is complete. It happens to be a Troy-Bilt TB130. It has a 2014 Honda engine on it, so this is a 2014 production date on the TB130. So I'm confident I can get 120 to 140 for it. I had a similar Briggs and Stratton powered machine that I had listed for 140. I ended up getting 120 for it. A nice couple brought out a trade-in, so I took a $20 trade-in on a rusty machine. So I'm confident my 140 selling price with the bag is an acceptable range. So it's been a few days. Let's hope this thing starts and I don't make a fool out of myself, but let's start looking it over. It will need a new air filter. He said he did clean the carburetor, and I says, "How did you clean it?" He said he took it apart and cleaned the jets. So I'm particular about my mechanic work. I usually try to do all my own work. Not to say that nobody's as handy as my shade tree mechanic skills are, but I don't know exactly if he knows how to clean a carburetor. His his theory on cleaning a carb just might be spraying carb cleaner into it. So we need a oil change, so that's not done. So I'm going to remove the farm animals and turn this thing over, and we'll look at the underside. It did start for me when he initially brought it. So I did notice this when I looked under it initially. I said the blades bent. He said, "Oh, I thought they were supposed to be pointed down like this." I said, "No, they should be straight and square. They shouldn't be pointing down." Somebody hit something with this. So I'm surprised it didn't shear the keyway with this kind of fixed object strike here. This isn't as bad, but it is pretty rough. So it needs a new blade. So 3 things: oil change, blade, and air filter. So let's bring you up to the critical moment here. See if this thing starts. Fuel is on. I noticed another thing. I had bought another machine from him, a Lawn Boy, and I bought that from him as a running unit. And went to start it again, and it stalled out. I poured the fuel out of it, and he had a bunch of water in the fuel. So he's got a jug on the back of his pickup truck. I'm wondering if he's getting rainwater in the fuel. And so he's just dumping crappy fuel into these things, and I end up having to come through and clean them up. Hopefully there's no water in this tank. So let me pull on this thing. So we'll try this, and then he brought a couple more units a few days later, and I think I created a monster, and I'll discuss. So you can hear the idle's a little low. When he first dropped it off, he did mention that to me when I started. He said, "Oh, the idle's a little low," and I said, "Yeah, it does need an adjustment. The RPMs are just a slightly under par on the RPMs, so I got to crank them up a little bit." So we'll demonstrate this one in a minute once we discuss the other two that he brought along a few days later. So let me move you over. Let me get my cheat sheet. This Toro recycler happens to be a 2014. It's the 20371 model. This is a complete unit. This started, but I'm just noticing all that rusty water that I didn't notice before. He brought these two here after dark. This one with no wheels, no gear, the carburetor's missing. That's a 2012 Toro, same model number, 20371 on that one. No blade on it. Just looking at the blade adapter, looks like the blade adapter's a little tweaked, so I don't know if they had hit something and then started to cannibalize it. Like I said, no carb. The front wheels are missing, and they also stole the C-clips. Sorry, Mr. Cluck. And they took the gear off. So what's valuable on this is the transmission. Excuse me. I got a chicken feather in my throat. So the transmission I could salvage. I'm looking at it now. Notice the spark plug's missing. So the recoil's dead. I can't use the recoil. That is unsprung. So maybe rear wheels in the handle. And the cables look like they're in decent condition. There's no rust on them. So I can see my $10 value is in the cable or cables. Somebody's tied it down here on the brake bar, and these sometimes show up missing the bales. So I gave 10 for that, kind of marked it so I remember what the value of this thing was. So let's go over to the first one here, the 2014. So he called and he said, hey, I got a couple of units for you I just picked up from my neighbor. He said one I know will be parts, but he said the other one I went through and cleaned the carburetor. So he came over with these two, and he said, I'd like to get 60 for this. And I said, nah, I'd do 50. He says, well, he said, well, I brought you that other complete one and you gave me 50 for it. So I says, what I can do is 50 for this, and I'd give you 10 for the parts one. So I guess he's into the train of thought he can bring me semi-running machines, so I'm going to have to figure out what to do next. I do better with stuff that I go through on my own and put together, because when he says they're running, they end up requiring some effort. So I'll see how it goes. Let's turn this one over. Like I said, the $10 unit does not have a blade. Let's see what this one looks like. And we'll try starting it, and then we'll run this one on the front lawn and the Troy-Bilt. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I didn't bring a drink out. It's first thing in the morning. I'm just getting going. I figured I'd bring you kids and cadets along for this show and tell. Okay, the underside doesn't look bad for 2014. Blade isn't terribly bad. There's somewhat of an edge on it. I'll take it off and finish sharpening it. Same for this side. It's not flat, but it's not 100%. So plastic shield here. Looks like it's been catching the tip of the blade. It's cut a groove here. It probably leans forward and gets hacked up. That's the only damage I see. And I think I looked at the blade on this one as far as being straight, and I don't think I saw any bending or bends in this when I initially looked at it. Yeah, it's fairly straight. So let me get you back up here. Let me get a clip. So I probably have a Toro bag for this. I've collected some bags through the winter time. I can probably make this thing a complete unit with a bag. Okay, let me yank on this 2014. This one here will need an air filter, not a carburetor, an air filter, excuse me. And I looked at the oil on this one. It will need an oil change. It's running rich. You can really see the black smoke. This thing is running really rich. I can see the choke hasn't opened up yet. Well, that wasn't good. It quit out on its own, and it's still got fuel in it. So when you heard it start, it was running rich. I looked at the automatic choke wafer, and it had been closed, so it finally warmed up a little bit and started to open. So I think we have an issue with the automatic choke. I just manually opened it up. It seems a little stiff, like it needs to be lubricated. There may be an issue with the heat wafer on the muffler not springing this thing to the open position. So I got to look at that. The junk machine, oh, that's missing the wafer too. I'm looking at the junk parts machine, and somebody swiped off the wafer on that one. So this thing just stalled on its own. I didn't turn it off, so I'm wondering if we picked up a pocket of H2O. And from what I've learned, water does not burn. So this was a disaster. Okay, one to start. So I think I solved my own dilemma here. Sorry for not putting you down. Just a quick run here in my front yard. It's stalled 20 feet in front of you, and it wanted to start again but would not start. So this didn't turn out too good. For 50 bucks, I'm gonna have to tell them I can't take any more machines, running machines like this at 50 bucks a pop. One to start and then stalled on me. So I got to go through it anyway. I might also pay a lower amount since I'm going to be doing the same amount of work. Anywho, let me get the Troy-Bilt out here in front of you, see if this starts and runs and stays running. Learning experience here at Tommy Time today. Don't pay too much. Okay, the Troy-Bilt didn't crap out. The 2014 with the Honda powered GCD. RPMs are low. I gotta just bring this up a tad. And this has got the bent blade. I gotta put a blade on it too. So we got a little work here to do. I gotta go through this Toro, the Kohler powered Toro, do a carb clean on this. If I do find water in the tank, I'm going to tell him he's got to wrap up his portable carry tank with a piece of plastic or something. Rainwater's getting into his carry jug. So the 2014 20371 still needs some attention. And I'll park this 20371 and strip some parts off of it. This happens to be a 2012 model year on the Toro recycler. Possibly bent shaft on this. Like I said, the blade adapter looked like it was tweaked on the top of the blade. Why don't we just turn this over and I can show you. There's no carbs, so I'm not really worried about turning it on any specific side. And I'm probably not going to be using the engine again, but we'll turn it over, pretend carburetor on the high side, and we'll look at this. Yeah, this is where I saw the bend on the top of the adapter here, like it had hit something. The engine isn't turning over. The safety brake bar has the wire wrapped on the bail, but there's no plug in the engine. Moisture could have got in the cylinder, and we got rusty rings. I can't budge that adapter. So the transmission looks fairly acceptable. I don't see any leaking out of that, so that would be something that I could salvage once I removed all that buildup down there. In the rear wheels, gas tank. So there you have it. I answered my own question here. Don't buy supposedly running machines because they're going to need work. Anyway, appreciate you coming out, checking out my channel. Please like and subscribe. Tip your waitress and waitstaff. They're doing an awesome job. See you next time. We'll continue looking at junk on four wheels. Have a good day today. Come back and see me.